Look at these. All right, relax.
Ooh, that's good.
Hey friends, welcome back to Brothers Green. Why do you have to do that? Hey friends, welcome back to Brothers Green. So you've seen us over the years do a lot of videos about kombucha. We've become pretty obsessed. It's one of my favorite drinks, at least. Yeah, this guy's obsessed too. You know, we grew up drinking soda, and now we've replaced it with this beautiful drink, but we wanted to take it to the next level for this video.
So we teamed up with GT's Kombucha to make a video all about flavoring kombucha in cool, creative ways. We're gonna do some more classic stuff, get a little experimental, and also show you how to make your own Scoby from a bottle of kombucha.
Yeah, because one of the questions we get the most is, you know, how to carbonate kombucha, how to get the best flavor so you can have incredible tasting kombucha at home. So when it comes to flavoring your kombucha, there really are endless options between spices, herbs, fruits, purees. It's
blending,
incredible.
Modeling, crushing. So we're actually gonna be talking to the head flavor master at GT's Kombucha. His name is Brady, and he's gonna fill us in on some good details to make this stuff even more delicious.
What would you call your role at GT's?
I like the word alchemist, but I am the food and beverage artist here in research and development at GT's Living Foods.
That sounds like a fun job. Like, so you get to create all the flavors. How do you kind of come up with the inspiration to make new flavors?
Inspiration kind of comes from all over. A lot of times GT will bring ideas to me. I'll bring ideas to him. We'll bounce ideas off of each other. And, you know, I kind of get down and dirty in the R&D kitchen and create.
When you say him, you know, GT's, who are you talking about?
GT Dave.
GT Dave himself.
Well, GT Dave.
GT Dave is a man. He's a real person. He would call himself part artist, part businessman, entrepreneur.
So what are your top tips for, say, home brewers that are looking, you know, to flavor their kombucha, to get creative with their kombucha? What are your top tips for them?
I think one of the best tips is just like having fun and getting creative and being adventurous. There's no wrong answer, really. Having, you know, getting some really fun kitchen tools. You know, I've seen some of the stuff you guys have. You know, you have it locked in and dialed in. And that helps breed creativity as well. Go to farmers markets. That's I mean, one of my favorite things to do, not just for work, but just for pleasure and for my own culinary experiences and my diet. Like I love going to farmers markets every weekend. That's just something I do. And you get so much inspiration from foods you've never even heard of or seen before. And you're like, oh my God, you know, what can I do with that? My
only other question would be like, is there an ingredient that you would say like avoid at all costs, you know, or that just like is so hard to work with?
Anything that's bringing fat into it. So like coconut, avocado, those are two components. A long time ago, I was like, I'm obsessed with avocados. I was bound and determined to bring an avocado kombucha to the table, to GT in the world. And it just
didn't work.
It was the most explosive kombucha I've ever created.
Wow.
The first time I opened it, the cap hit the ceiling, and there was just, you know, our walls in the kitchen are white by the sink, and it was just a green mess. I remember GT coming in like, what the hell happened?
Someone killed a Hulk in here?
Avocado and kombucha does not work.
So for those of you out there who don't know what kombucha is, it's really simple. It's a fermented sweet tea beverage, and it's really simple to make. All you do is take some tea, you brew that, you add some sugar to it, and then you add your Scoby, which is your bacteria and yeast growth that actually ferments that tea to make the kombucha.
Boom. So when it comes to the Scoby, you can either go online and buy one, and if you've ever seen a Scoby before, it's like this gigantic circular like jelly boogery thing.
Yeah.
You can go online and you can buy one, or of course they sell them in store.
Or a friend.
Or a friend, yeah. People can pass on. So every time you brew a whole thing of kombucha, you get an extra Scoby. So it's kind of like a pass it along type deal, you know, ride or die. So, but there is a really cool trick.
How is that ride or die?
I don't know, because you ride and then you pass it. Either it dies or it goes into your friend. So.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, you ride or you die.
Or you ride it out of the Scoby
Ride or die
guys.
kombucha. But there is a cool trick. If you want to actually make your own Scoby, all you need is a bottle of unflavored, unfiltered kombucha. And GT's Original is a perfect example because it's got these floaties in there and you can actually make your own Scoby from a bottle of this.
If you're gonna be growing your own Scoby from a bottle of plain kombucha, you just gotta make sure that it's unfiltered and it's still raw. And you'll see like GT's is great because they have those little floaties coming off the mother in the actual kombucha because they haven't taken out anything during the actual manufacturing process. Some brands, through the manufacturing process, you're not going to get the live kombucha, so you won't get a good Scoby product.
And also keep in mind, there's nothing wrong with drinking this. Some people freak out, but it's perfectly safe to drink. A lot of people actually take Scobies and blend them into like smoothies and stuff, so it's really good for you.
So it's really simple to make a Scoby from scratch. Take about 2 to 3 cups of boiling water and pour that into a glass jar. Now take 2 black tea bags and then just let those steep in there for about 20 minutes. Once they've steeped, you can remove the tea bags and add half a cup of sugar to that and just mix that up until it's dissolved and then let that solution cool down to room temperature.
So the last step is just taking 2 cups or about 1 bottle of kombucha that's been, unfiltered, unflavored, and mixing that all together. And then you just take something to cover it that's gonna let air in, like a kitchen towel and a rubber band. You just don't want to make sure there's like dust particles and stuff getting in, then you just let it sit.
Yeah, make sure it's not a cheesecloth either because fruit flies can get in there, which will be a problem. And after about 4 or 5 days, you're gonna start seeing a little bit of growth just like this right here. And then after time, a week and a half, 2 weeks, you're gonna get a Scoby that is actually nice and formed. It's gonna start to get thicker. You can let this go for a month or 3 weeks. You want a really nice, strong starter liquid so you get off to a really good start with your kombucha.
And where did you store this? So like in the dark, in warm weather, cold, all that stuff?
Yeah, you wanna make sure that this is not in direct light. That's bad for the actual culture. And also you want a warm environment because kombucha is actually a tropical fermentation process. So I actually stored it on a heat mat since it's the winter, it's cold, and that's gonna really help the actual growth. But if you clean your hands, you can see that this Scoby right here was grown from this right here.
That is a sexy Scoby.
That is a sexy Scoby, and if you let that go, this was about 2 weeks. If you let that go another week, another 2 weeks, it's just gonna get thicker, and this liquid, let's try this liquid.
Let's try the liquid. So a pretty cool tip too, if you're not ready to brew a big batch of kombucha, you can actually just keep this at room temperature and it will keep fermenting, and you can always add a little bit more liquid if it's getting too fermented.
Yes, just keep it at room temperature, it's good for life.
Wow.
So that's a strong vinegar flavor, which is actually good. That's not what we want in our actual kombucha product, but as a starter liquid, you do want something really strong because you're gonna get off to a really good start with your kombucha.
Also a cool tip that I learned, I didn't know this, but if your kombucha, if you're fermenting it and it goes a little bit over, you can add more water to kind of balance it out a little bit.
So now that you have your Scoby, you've made it from scratch or you've obtained one somehow, we actually have to make the kombucha, the fermented tea. So we have an entire video on that whole process that goes super in depth. We're not really gonna cover that, but it's really simple. It's just making more sweet tea, letting it sit, really basic stuff, but we wanna talk more about the actual flavoring and the carbonation today.
This is the fun part. So of course, when you ferment your kombucha, you can just drink it straight up and it would be basically like an original. It would just be the flavor of the tea, a little sweet, but it's not really gonna have the carbonation. And the second part of the process, the second fermentation, is where you get the carbonation because you're putting in different flavors that have sugar and things, so it's eating. What's eating the sugar? Something's eating the sugar.
So the actual yeast and the bacteria, they're still feeding off the sugars, but what's happening is now that you're trapping them in the bottle, when they eat those sugars, they produce carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide, bubbles, gas. So you're trapping that gas in there. So not only are you flavoring the kombucha with what you put in there, but you're creating effervescence or carbonation, which is the reason it tastes so good.
So we thought it'd be fun to take you guys through the season. So no matter what time of year you're watching this video, you're gonna be able to make kombucha. So we're doing 2 kombuchas per season.
Yeah, I brew all year long. So things are in season, they're out of season.
That's kind of a key thing to really like what's in season, what's fresh, throw it in there.
Yeah, that is definitely the first key fact. So Josh and I each have created 1 kombucha for each season. Some of these are tried for the first time ever on camera. We're experimenting. Some of these are our favorite flavors we've been doing for years.
So you've got your giant batch of kombucha that's fermented, and I know personally for me this is the trickiest spot because there's like this kind of thing where, yeah, you have there's pH, you know, you're tasting it.
Yeah.
How do you know when it's ready to go for the next step?
The most important thing is definitely the taste, and that's something you develop over time. Yeah, your pH, you can test that. You want it between 2.5, 3.5 pH, but it really comes down to taste. It's that level between sweetness and tartness. Still need a balance of a little bit of sweetness in there, and usually that's around 7 to 10 days of fermenting your original batch.
Depending, of course, on the time of year. So the summer things are going to typically ferment faster. In the winter, it might be slower. There's a lot of elements you have to figure out. When I first started brewing it, I didn't realize that. I was nervous. I'm like, did I pull it at the right time? But I've fermented kombuchas that are a little more sour, and I've done some that are a little more sweet, and they both work, but like, you gotta find what you like.
If it's a little more sour, you're just gonna have to let it bottle carbonate for longer. But it's definitely coming down to taste in the long run. So it's something you're gonna get acquainted with, trying to get that perfect sweet spot between sour, between sweetness. So when it comes to the actual bottles you want to use for your kombucha, I really like these pop top bottles. You can get them, you know, so many different places online, and they're reusable. They work great. You want to make sure you have a round bottle. Square bottle, bad for pressure. There's corners, I've had some explosions. Round really handles the pressure right. And then you can also use your bottles. You know, I use GT bottles all the time. Reuse these things. When you buy them in the store, these are going to be great for carbonating as well and bottling.
GT's also has that big bottle. I'll make big batches in there. Yeah, the big bottle.
I've never done that.
Oh, it's great because you don't have to make like 1,000 little bottles.
Interesting. So let's talk about our first flavor. Since it is winter time right now, we're going to start with a winter batch. What do you have?
I've got hops, and this is actually one, so GT's makes a great, it's called Heavenly Hops. It's a great flavor, but you first told me about the hops. You had like tried it somewhere, and I was just amazed. And making a bottle of hops, it kind of has that sort of beer thing going on a little bit, because hops is traditionally used to make beer.
Exactly. If you don't want all of the alcohol from an IPA, adding hops to your kombucha is really awesome, and it really carbonates well. You use the whole flower for hops, and you want the fresh stuff. I've tried it with the dried hops that a lot of beer making is done with, and it's too much. You want the fresh flower, and you just put in, you know, a nice handful of hops to get a good flavor. So all of these carbonated for about 4 days, I would say, and I was burping them every night. Burping them like a little baby every single night, just to release some of the carbonation.
So when you say burping, though, not a lot of people know what that means. So
burping is just a quick.
Yeah, like a quick. So because there's a lot of carbonation that's going to build up, you don't necessarily want to stop the fermentation right away. So the first couple days, every day, pretty much, you open it a little bit and be careful, because if it's really intense, it will squirt all over your kitchen. So.
And then before you actually try them, you can put them in the fridge overnight, and that's really going to slow down the carbonation. So it's all right if they're super carbonated. Put them in the fridge, that will slow it down.
But what you don't want to do is leave them out for a long time. So if they've carbonated 4 or 5 days, then you want to get them in the fridge, because if you left them out for a couple weeks, the bottle might explode.
You can see there, we've got some really nice carbonation. And you know, if it's too carbonated, which a lot of these might be a little bit, what I do is just go like that.
Ooh, it's like a keg.
And that's just gonna make, because all of that is really good kombucha. Don't worry about that.
Super carbonated.
Yeah, and now once it's good to pour, then you can actually pour it.
And you can strain it if you want. One thing though, I find certain things carbonate much faster. Like the hops has really good carbonation. You might try some fruits that don't necessarily have a lot of carbonation, but hops
and we'll
is very
get into
citrusy.
that as we move on to all these flavors too. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, the smell smells like a beer.
It's like an IPA, right? Wow. Yeah, it's got like because of the hops, there's a citrusy aroma to it, but it's also a little bitter. You get that like bitterness, which you don't get in a lot of kombucha.
I love hops, because if you get a citrus flavor of hops, there's different styles. You don't have to add any lemon juice or anything. It's already built into the hops.
That's good. That's some good.
All right, so for my winter edition, I have Hibiscus, which is a flower. So we're gonna be talking about different ways you can carbonate as well. You know, dried herbs, we're gonna be doing.
Is this dried flower you got?
This is a dried hibiscus flower, as well as some lemon, which is in season in the winter, so some lemon juice. for the lemon hibiscus, I just put a few dried hibiscus flowers in there and then poured over a little bit of lemon juice and then added my kombucha. This one is not as carbonated because there's no fruit in there other than just, you know, the acidic lemon. So there's not much sweetness, so it's just perfectly carbonated.
Hibiscus has become my favorite thing recently.
Really?
Good hibiscus tea. There's something to it. It tastes like fruit punch, but not.
So I've never done hibiscus in kombucha. So this is really exciting. First of all, the look of that is just absolutely incredible. That's what you like. That's a perfect amount of carbonation. The hops was obviously a little aggressive. All right, cheers. That's one of the best I've ever tasted.
That's good. Want to try some hibiscus kombucha?
Wow.
Cheers.
This is hibiscus lemon.
Really good.
All right, so we're moving on to spring, and for me, when it comes to spring, it's all about the berries, and that's key for flavoring your kombucha and carbonating. Just go to your market, whatever's in season fruit-wise, grab that, and you're gonna have successful kombucha, in my mind.
And in spring, also a lot of foraging. There's so many cool berries you can find.
Yeah.
Be safe, don't eat poisonous berries, obviously, but you can find good stuff.
That's true, you can really go wild with that. For the blackberry ginger, I took some blackberries and I cut those in half. I pushed them into the bottle and then added a few ginger pieces and then filled it up with kombucha. Any aromatics added to your kombucha, I find that ginger or turmeric really cuts the tartness down a lot and creates a beautiful balance. What do you have?
So for mine, I had this great idea.
Oh God.
I had this amazing idea to do like a Thai-inspired one, and it was gonna have galangal and lemongrass and kaffir lime. And I told Mike about it, and he couldn't find any of his ingredients, so he just made a ginger turmeric kombucha. For the turmeric and ginger kombucha, just slice up some turmeric and ginger, slice it thin, throw some pieces in there, put on your bucha, and you're good to go. So I would prefer to make the Thai one. That being said, I made ginger turmeric, and it is one of my favorite, just like straight up classic
This though,
one.
even with a little lemongrass, if you had the galangal, I would be very interested in that.
I would love
again,
to try that.
Not my fault.
Again, I didn't
Couldn't
get that.
find it, all right?
I wasn't a good boy this year, I guess.
Whoa!
Jesus.
You see, again, this has no sugar in it, and it's carbonated.
That one, oh wow, I'm impressed that
All right, let's
ginger and turmeric.
fly in another glass. This is insane.
Oh.
So I think just the ginger and the turmeric, whatever components make up the actual aromatics, really help with carbonation.
It's almost like it's on tap right now. That's crazy.
But you can see, like, yeah, this looks, you could say this is over-carbonated, but to me, I would rather have this than under-carbonated.
I've never,
Because
no
that,
such thing as over-carbonated.
once this is done, it's gonna be perfect.
Wow, that's
All right,
impressive.
now this one isn't so carbonated. Yeah, so this one.
Whoa!
Oh boy.
But there's a berry in there. You gotta watch out for that. Sometimes there'll be something stuck in there and then it'll all squirt out.
Look at these. All right, relax.
Ooh, that's
with that. So we have the berry ginger, and then we have the turmeric and the ginger. Cheers to spring. Cheers to spring, which is coming soon.
But
in a few
cannot
months.
wait for spring. For the love of God.
Oh my God. We've got some good booch on our hand over here.
Nice. This is a classic.
Oh my.
I could see a little more, sometimes I'll, this is another thing when it comes to putting in ingredients, like you can dice stuff, you can shred stuff, like depends how intense you want the flavor. Sometimes I'll dice up the turmeric really fine or puree it as well or juice
Yeah,
it.
my number one is always just going with chunks of the fruit, just dicing it up, putting it in there. I like the raw, I guess, essence you get from just putting it in there rather than a puree or
This one's
something like
really good.
Yeah.
The fruit cuts through so well. Certain fruits you'll like really get an intense flavor, and I think berries are a good example of that.
that. And I really like doing a combination between a fruit and an aromatic. That's gonna be 90% for me. I'm gonna do some type of fruit that's in season with a ginger or a turmeric. And then you get the health benefits from the ginger and the turmeric as well.
To me, this is like the ultimate sort of healthy, good for you kombucha. Because they say Kombucha is supposed to be really good for your gut. It's got a lot of good bacteria, so a lot of people drink it as like a way to kind of help improve their gut. So we all got messed up guts. So adding in the ginger turmeric, this is like
So good.
health in a bottle right here.
John?
Cheers. I have the crunchiness of the ginger in there.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Those are fun. You get the little explosions, right?
A little texture, I think, goes a long way.
A lot of places they'll actually, you know, strain all the. A lot of times when you buy kombucha in the store, everything's going to be strained out. Which is fine, but I actually love getting like, you know, a blueberry or whatever in my mouth, get to chew it, and it just adds another dynamic.
And there's one more tip. Just, you can see right here, there's a little bit of headroom, they call this. You want to minimize the amount of headroom because the more amount of oxygen you're going to get in there, the less amount of carbon dioxide. So if you can fill it up like, you know, even to the top, this was a little carbonated when I filled it up, so it was trickier to get, but definitely minimize headroom for better carbonation.
So one cool thing about kombucha is if you're doing something that's not in season, like obviously this is a summer kombucha, but we're in winter right now, so we use frozen fruit. So we have frozen mango and frozen peaches, two of my favorite fruits in the entire world. So just take them, slice them up a bit, throw them in here, throw in some fresh mint, cover it with your kombucha, and good to go.
And then this one is a melon and cucumber, which is experimental for me. I've never tried this, but it was really simple. Just slice up some fresh cucumber, slice up some fresh cantaloupe I used for this one, stuffed it in there, and then filled it up with my booch. So why don't you tap yours off, Josh?
Is it cucumber or melon?
Is it cucumber?
I feel it's kind of like in
No.
the melon. It's not, but it almost
Yeah,
feels
you're
like
right.
it's right in that.
I'm a little nervous
I
for
still
that.
don't know how to
Here.
do this.
I've got the special touch.
He's got the touch. These are so fermented. Wow, Jesus.
Again.
So this is the mango peach mint, and it's a little bit inspired by the Mystic Mango. This is one of my favorite flavors, but they
I've
actually
never had the
blend.
Mystic Mango.
You haven't?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good, but they blend up their mango, which is another option. You could blend up or juice your
Use
fruit.
purees. But again, I really like using the whole fruit in there. I just like how it breaks down the fruit and you get a beautiful
Wow.
light flavor.
These are great.
Oh my God. All right, so maybe I could have gone a
day
day or two less on
It's
these.
a little tricky when you're filming these things. Bravo
Yeah.
for that.
Oh,
Smell this.
No, the smell off this
No.
is insane.
That, holy holy Jesus. The melon. That's great.
And again, after this intense carbonation, then it will be a little easier to pour. So here we go. Hold these up. Beautiful color. This is the melon and the cucumber.
Similar color, interestingly, but very different. Kind of
Yeah.
tricky. Smell this one. That mint, really good.
Let me try that.
That's good.
Summer blends. So far away, but you can get a little freshness in here.
Wow, that's nice.
This, wow. That tastes, it just tastes like the islands to me. It just tastes tropical. And the mint,
Well,
really,
that's a lot of flavor.
yeah. The mint just takes you to another dimension.
All right, we're slipping into fall, the final month, a beautiful month, and I wanted to get kind of weird and experimental. Is this experimental one too?
Yeah, this one I actually tried this once recently, and what I did was I actually juiced carrots and I juiced apples. So that's another technique. You can juice things, and that's how a lot of, you know, the store-bought stuff, they'll juice things because they can't put the whole fruit in there. And then I added a little bit of clove and cinnamon, so a real fall-flavored spice kombucha.
And I don't know how this falls into fall, but I thought it'd be really wild, and I've never seen it, I've never had it before. Gin is made from juniper berries. So you might see the trees and you see these little berries and you smell them. Don't eat them, smell them. And they're like just like gin. They smell like gin. So we actually crushed and muddled up some juniper berries.
Just to release the flavor a little bit.
And tossed them in here. We have no idea if this is going to be too much, not enough, or perfect.
And then we added a little bit of lemon juice as well.
Just kind of round it out a
Yeah. When it comes to the actual amounts, how much to put, how much fruit to put, how much flowers, that is very experimental. It's about getting those ratios and trying this stuff out over time. You could see we were just kind of throwing in fruit, and that's normally how I do it. It's not like filling up the whole bottle. I would say fill up the bottle, you know, a quarter of the way with fruit, or if
Yeah,
it's
like
fruit
that.
juice, that's more concentrated, so a little bit less.
Good way to look at it.
Okay.
Wow, I can really smell.
got
This
an-
is the gin bucha.
We've got another exploder. Okay, so the gin it carbonated,
Not
but it
as
wasn't
much.
like explosive. I didn't know if it would react with the fermentation.
Wow, that smells like gin. That's great.
I'm interested how the lemon too will work with
Yeah.
that. Okay, so now we're moving on to the apple. This one is highly, oh yeah.
Holy gee. Oh my God, I've never seen consistently this much carbonation in every single bottle of kombucha.
What happened was I had them on a heat mat, so the carbonation was even sped up a little bit. And you know, if it's carbonating like that, then just pull it a day or two earlier.
That's like cinnamon gum, that's good.
Really?
Oh man.
The colors are beautiful here. The differences in like tones that you get.
Yeah.
All right, check these out.
I also think you're like, what I love about this is you're taking back like your own power to make delicious drinks, because I feel like the alcohol often gets all these really creative flavors, like the hops and the gin and different things like that you don't normally get in other drinks, but they're good flavors. All right, this is for all the marbles.
Let's go on that one first. We're calling this gin bucha.
Not wow. Not at
we need
all
to
what I
strain
expected.
that?
I mean, it would probably be good strain. Not at all what I expected, but like amazing. Like that's so unique. Never had a kombucha like that.
This is built for a kombucha cocktail. It's just I've never tasted anything more built for it. Wow. Just with the gin flavors, the lemon juice, incredible.
Good stuff.
Okay.
That one smells really good.
Cinnamon in there. That's the first time I tried cinnamon. I tried the clove.
If this isn't making you want to make kombucha right now, if you're not making your own Scoby and this as we speak, I don't know what is wrong with you, because you will be having so much fun, so much love in your mouth. That
This is
amazing.
the reason I started brewing kombucha, because beer making felt too complicated. It felt too expensive, but I wanted to get creative with drink making. I like the process of, you know, fermenting something, making it over a long period of time, but I didn't want it too complicated. So kombucha was that perfect middle ground where there's still a process, you still get to experiment, but it's not like overwhelming.
Yeah, that's so good.
We've got all of our flavors. We're just gonna kind of quickly go over our thoughts on each
thoughts
one.
on them.
We got the hops.
I like the hop. I mean, in general, I love hops as a flavoring. I thought maybe it was a little too bitter.
Too many hops. Also, what I've seen with hops is the different style of hops is gonna be key for the actual flavor. So experiment with different
But in
types
general,
of hops.
hops is freaking awesome in
Amazing.
kombucha. This one is like a classic. Always just
you
classic.
can't go
good.
wrong. And the carbonation, I was surprised. Insane carbonation with no added sugar. That's key. When you don't have to add extra sugar and you can get good carbonation.
Very true. This one was my favorite, I think, of the ones I
Really?
made. The mango, out of my batch, the mango mint peach, it was just so refreshing.
This
so
one
good.
captured summer, takes you to summer, but I did think it was a tiny bit sweet.
Oh,
A tiny bit sweet.
Nothing is too sweet for me. I don't have a too sweet meter. It's just
Juniper and
most creative.
Juniper and lemon.
Really creative. What's interesting is like
Tastes like a cocktail.
it's like a cocktail. I get a lot of smell of the gin. I don't taste as much gin. I think that's because of the lemon.
Yeah.
So I would maybe try this again without the lemon or less lemon.
Totally agree with you. Carrot, apple, clove, cinnamon.
that was amazing.
Really impressed by the spice in there. That's just, experiment with spices. I think it didn't take much. I put 1 clove in here and it just
What about for
blows it
cinnamon?
away.
Was it?
Just half a
stick, okay.
a stick of cinnamon. So good. This one is the hibiscus lemon.
That's
This
great.
one was subtle.
Yeah.
This one was, that might be my favorite.
This is your
Well, no,
top.
I'm going between that one and then this one right here. The cucumber in here and the melon, again, captures summer so well, and I felt the flavors were just
That was really aroma-wise.
sensational.
Yeah, these like a lot of the ones you made had a fantastic aroma, like very
Aromas,
unique.
yeah.
Just like
Yeah, I like the aroma, the lightness.
the
to it.
melon. You don't like smell melon often, you
Yeah.
know, like that
Yeah.
one's fresh. It gives you that, like you know, when you cut to a fresh
Let me
melon,
smell it again.
and it just hits you.
Oh. Even when you just release it. Okay, and then the last one, blackberry ginger. It's interesting. When it comes to all of these, you know, it kind of gets pushed to the side a little bit, but for me, this is so classic. A berry
a berry.
and an aromatic, a ginger. It's like,
berry and
that's
a
gonna be,
ginger.
for the most part, what I'm going with.
It's like a cartoon. Again, thank you so much to G2's Kombucha. for sponsoring the video.
And giving us a beautiful Scoby. This stuff is
Scoby.
packed with all of the good stuff you need to make a Scoby at home.
We hope this has inspired you guys to get out there and try making your own kombucha. You can do any flavor you like, you can try anything. And what I'd say is make a couple more classic ones, make the ginger turmeric, and then have a couple that are weird, and if you don't like them, you know, worst case, you lose a bottle.
I agree, and if you're starting from scratch, go out, get yourself a few bottles, taste them, get acquainted with the actual flavor, because it is very unique, it's different, but save all of those bottles. Save them for a rainy day when you actually go deep into making kombucha at home.
See you around.